Hello everyone, welcome to Educating Young Minds. So this is part 2 of our first chapter, that is nutrition in plants. If you haven't watched part 1, do watch that part first. The link is provided in the description box below. Also, this video is available in Hindi. If you want to watch it in Hindi, the link is provided in the description box below. So let's start, but before starting the chapter, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to Educating Young Minds. So we have learned that process of photosynthesis takes place in leaves of plant. But do photosynthesis takes place in other parts of plants also? The answer is yes. In some plants, photosynthesis takes place in other green parts of the plant also, such as green stems and green branches. It particularly happens in desert plants in which leaves are modified into scale or spine-like structure to reduce the loss of water by transpiration. So in these plants, photosynthesis takes place through green stems. So this is the kind of leaf which most of the plants have. It has a large surface area. So it has numerous stomatal openings. And larger the number of stomata, larger is the water loss by transpiration. So in desert area where there is scarcity of water, leaves get modified into the spine-like structure so that there is less loss of water through transpiration. So in these kind of plants, photosynthesis takes place through green stems. Now we have studied that green leaves contain a pigment called chlorophyll which helps to capture sunlight, and does it helps in photosynthesis process? So do colored leaves also carry out photosynthesis? The answer is yes. The leaves other than green also have chlorophyll. And photosynthesis takes place in these leaves also. It's just that large amount of red, brown or any other color mask the green color, but these leaves also have chlorophyll. So you must have seen this slimy green patches in stagnant water. This is algae. Can you guess why algae are green in color? Because they contain chlorophyll, which gives them green color. Algae can also prepare their own food by photosynthesis. So now, can you imagine your life on Earth in the absence of photosynthesis? The survival of almost all living organisms directly or indirectly depends on food which is made by the plants through the process of photosynthesis. Also, oxygen, which is essential for the survival of all living organisms, is produced during photosynthesis. So in the absence of photosynthesis, life would be impossible on the Earth. So we know that our food such as wheat, rice or pulses contains numerous nutrients such as carbohydrates, fats, proteins, etc. Now we know that carbohydrates are prepared in the process of photosynthesis. But what about fats, proteins and other nutrients? So carbohydrates are prepared during the process of photosynthesis. Carbohydrates contain carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and these are used to make proteins and fats. But we also know that proteins contains nitrogen. So how do plants obtain nitrogen? Now you will say that there is 78% nitrogen present in the air, so plants can take nitrogen from air, but plants are not capable of taking nitrogen from the air. Thus, this work is done by a bacteria called Rhizobium bacteria, which lives in the root of legume plants. Legume plants such as pea, pulses, beans, etc. So this bacteria converts the atmospheric nitrogen into usable nitrogen. Also, plants get nitrogen from fertilizers and manures, which is added to the soil. So, with the help of this diagram, you can understand that Rhizobium bacteria, which lives in the root of legume plants, converts the atmospheric nitrogen into usable form and release this nitrogen in soil. Thus, plants can absorb this nitrogen from the soil. Okay, after studying about autotrophic and heterotrophic mode of nutrition, now it's time to study about some other modes of nutrition in plants. Some plants do not have chlorophyll and they cannot synthesize their own food. So such plants resort to heterotrophic nutrition. Examples are parasitic plants, insectivorous plants and saprophytes. We will now study about each one of them in detail. So first we will study about parasitic plants. Parasitic plants are plants which climbs on some other plant and then they take the food prepared by these plants. An example is Cuscuta plant or Amarbel. So the plant on which it climbs is called as host plant, and since it deprives the host of valuable nutrients, it is called as parasite. It takes the ready-made food prepared by this host plant. So now we will study about insectivorous plants. There are some plants that can trap insects and digest them. Isn't it interesting? An example is pitcher plant. In pitcher plant, the leaves get modified into this pitcher-like structure. So when an insect lands in this pitcher, this lid closes and the trapped insects get entangled into the hair. The insect is then digested by the digestive juices which are secreted in the pitcher. Such insect-eating plants are called as insectivorous plants. We will now study about saprotrophic mode of nutrition. So, the mode of nutrition in which the organisms take nutrients from dead and decaying matter, for example, excreta, fallen leaves, broken twigs or food articles, is called as saprotrophic nutrition, and the plants which use saprotrophic mode of nutrition are called as saprotrophs. An example is mushroom. So we already know that roots absorb water and minerals from soil for the process of photosynthesis. Now it's time to understand that how these nutrients are replenished in the soil, because if the plant continues to take up the nutrients, a day will come when all the nutrients will be lost from the soil. So we are trying to understand that how these nutrients are replenished or restored in soil. Okay, so nutrients are replenished in soil by fertilizers and manures. You must have seen farmers adding fertilizers and manures to soil. These fertilizers and manures provide soil with essential nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, sulfur, etc. Now, nitrogen is required by plant in large quantities. So, nitrogen is added by fertilizers. Also, nitrogen is fixed by a bacteria in the soil. We have already discussed about it. So let's now discuss about it in some more detail. So rhizobium bacteria, which lives in the root of legume plant, converts the atmospheric nitrogen to available nitrogen, and in return this legume plant provides food and shelter to this bacteria. So this kind of relationship where one organism depends on other is known as symbiotic relationship. There is one more example of symbiotic relationship, that is lichen. This is lichen. Lichen is an organism in which fungus and algae lives together. The fungus provides shelter, water and minerals to algae, and algae in return provides food which is prepared by photosynthesis to fungus. So now we have studied about all the modes of nutrition in plants. But before completing this chapter, let's take a look at plant cell. It's given in your book, so just go through it once. So it says that all living organisms are made up of tiny units called cells. Cells can only be seen under microscope. The cell is enclosed by a thin outer boundary called as cell membrane. See, this is the boundary. So this is called as cell membrane. And most of the cells have a distinct centrally located spherical structure called nucleus. This is nucleus. Centrally located spherical structure. And outside the nucleus is the jelly-like substance which is called as cytoplasm. So with this we have completed our chapter. If you liked the video, do share and subscribe to our channel and provide me feedback about the video and keep studying. Thank you.